A bunch of ugly-looking dudes bully the midget Sora, but he tells them that he will take them on one by one. They beat the crap out of him and then take all his money. One of them, who looks like a fat melon, asks him why he was protecting his bag, and Sora reveals that the bag contains his wings of freedom. Afterwards, the fatso rants to him about how he got left by a girl and even admires Sora for not running away. He tells him that he can train him to fight, but just then, a kid's plane knocks him down. The next day, on his first day of high school, Sora rushes to the basketball court to play, but the basketball team finds him there. They take him to the club room where the captain Mamoru threatens to beat him into a pulp if he plays basketball without his permission. The team then leaves him after locking him in the room, and Sora spends the whole day cleaning some basketballs. Later, he discovers that there's a peeping hole in the room that opens up to a girl's locker room, and just when he lays his sinful eye on a girl, the fatso from the previous day joins him. The fatso named Chiaki tells him that the basketball team won't come back for practice since the club is pretty much dysfunctional. He tells Sora to join another club, but Sora refuses his offer. Chiaki then breaks him out of the room and takes him to the court, where Sora notices the girl from the locker room who he was peeping at. Madoka warns him to stay cautious of the basketball team, and just then, the basketball team finds him there. They take his precious shoes, which his mom had given to him in the past, and so he fights back. Mamoru decides to rip his shoes, but Chiaki steps in and defends him. Madoka reveals that Chiaki and Mamoru are actually twins, just as both the brothers start fighting like a bunch of apes. Sora asks them why they don't play basketball, while he recalls that he made a promise to his mother in the past to become a basketball player. He challenges the team to play a 5 versus 1 match against him, and that he will quit if they defeat him. Chiaki refuses to join the challenge and instead proposes that Madoka should play against Sora instead. The match begins, and Sora immediately bests Mamoru as he dribbles past him. He then dives past Madoka too and finally aims for the net. Just when he tries to goal, one of the wannabe goons kicks him and knocks him down. Mamoru then proposes that they will do a best of 10, and Madoka guides the guys on how to defend the goal. The match starts as Sora recalls how his mom always advised him that his height isn't a disadvantage. He pretends to duck in, but at the last moment, he steps back and makes a long jump shot, which earns him 2 points. The other members start pushing him around, and Mamoru reminds them they still have a score to settle. Meanwhile, Chiaki peeps at random girls outside, but soon the basketball members join him and tell him that Sora defeated them. Sora tells Madoka that Mamoru won't go back on his words and that he seems like a skilled player. The next day, she congratulates him on joining the team and even gives him lunch to eat. After school, Sora asks his teammates to practice basketball, but they just tell him to clean the clubroom. He cleans the room for hours till Chiaki arrives with a pole. Chiaki tells him by peeking through the hole to the ladies' room that there's a plot armor on the floor and that he intends to rescue it. He tries to retrieve it through a hole on the floor, and when he fails, Sora assists him by lengthening the pole. Sora then inquires whether he and Mamoru have prior basketball experience, but he spits out some useless wisdom about calling it quit at the right time. Later, Madoka comes across Sora practicing basketball by himself at the court, and even Mamoru notices this. Afterwards, Chiaki informs Mamoru that Sora seems to have depth perception, which makes him very skilled. He then comments that Mamoru used to practice a lot, but it's probably because he doesn't have proper depth perception that makes him an average Joe. The Kyuzuryu High Boys then get into a fight with Shinmaruko High Boys, where they beat them up, and later they go to the club room to waste some time. Mamoru then comes across Sora, who is still practicing late at night. Madoka tells him that he has made 1,000 shots. Mamoru recalls how he used to practice so much, but still he would suck at basketball, after which he quit the game. Madoka reminds him that Sora is still waiting to play with him since he promised him. Mamoru wonders endlessly about how Sora practices so hard and consistently. The next day, Sora rushes to the club only to find Chiaki taking a bath there. Chiaki asks him what he would do if he couldn't get better at basketball despite practicing hard. He then takes him outside and shows him Mamoru, who is practicing basketball despite sucking at it because he got inspired by Sora. To Sora's surprise, Mamoru jumps very high to make a goal when he can't throw it from a distance. Just then, Shinmaruko High's thugs intercept Mamoru and start making fun of his skills. They then beat him up when he starts a fight, and even Sora tries to step in like a hero. Of course, he gets beaten to a pulp too, and afterwards Mamoru reveals his childhood pathetic sob story about how he couldn't get better despite practicing hard. Sora compliments his ducking skills and somehow convinces him to go to the gym with him for practice. Shinmaruko High then challenges the team to an official basketball match, and Sora starts guiding the other players on how to play some basic basketball. They get sick of his preaching, so they leave the gym. Meanwhile, Mamoru buys new sneakers and reveals to Chiaki that he wants to give basketball another chance because of Sora. Sora tries convincing the other players to play the match with him, and they challenge him to play basketball in front of the girls in his boxers only. The next day, he takes up the challenge and ends up playing basketball in all his naked glory, which convinces the other players to join the team again. He and Mamoru then sneak into Shinmaruko High to get some intel on their team. One of their players named Takiwa invites Sora to watch their practice, and somehow Sora ends up getting clubbed with the first years who want to join the team. A giant player named Chiba calls all the players below 170 centimeters height, including Sora, and rejects them on the spot for being so short. Kazu High team then starts practicing, and when a ball comes towards Sora, he takes the chance and rushes towards Takiwa with the ball. He dribbles past him and makes a goal smoothly. He challenges the team openly and then runs away before they can beat him up. Sora sends his hospitalized mom a message giving her life updates, and also sends her a picture with the basketball team, which makes her think he will get mugged soon. Sora starts pestering Chiaki to join the match against Shinmaruko High, but Chiaki instead tells him to collect numbers of some specific students from his class so he can stalk them. Later, the team practices at the gym, and Mamoru gets assigned the duty to clean since he can't make basketball shots. Sora updates his mom again and also lies to Madoka that he's only texting his mom, not because she's hospitalized or anything. In the past, Sora whines to his mom about how a less talented player than him got into the team because of his height, and his mom gives the hard reality check that even she wouldn't select him because of his height, so he should try hard to improve his skills above the average player. Sora reveals this to Madoka and tells her that his mom did the same to become a member in Japan's national team. The next day, both teams face each other, and Kyusuryu Highs start acting like a bunch of delinquents as usual. Sora confesses to his team that it's his actual first match. As the match begins, Chiba from Shinmaruko High comments to Mamoru that he must be Chiaki's brother and that their team should learn their limits. Right at the beginning, Mamoru steals the ball by jumping higher than Chiba and passes it to Sora, who makes a 3-point score in an instant. Once again, Kyusuryu High gets the ball and they pass the ball between themselves rather than dribble it till the ball comes to Sora. Sora makes another 3-pointer while Chiaki waits for his date like some desperate loner. The first half ends with 9-12 scores in Kyusuryu High's favor, and in the second half, Mamoru tells Sora to let him handle the defense. As Shinmaruko High's players go for a dunk, Mamoru jumps above Chiba and blocks his shot. He blocks another goal, and the team goes for a counter-attack as the ball goes to Sora. He does a duck-in and makes a 2-pointer shot after moving past Takiwa. Takiwa then realizes Sora's only weakness and tells Chiba to let him handle him alone. As the match proceeds, Takiwa faces Sora and he keeps pressing on him till Sora ducks from the left and makes a shot from there. Surprisingly, he misses, and once again when the ball comes to Sora, he repeats the same tactic. This time Sora misses again, and Takiwa tells him that he knows Sora's weakness, that he can't make shots from the left side of the court. The team takes a timeout and Sora tells them that he was only unlucky in his shots. Chiaki's blind date finally shows up shockingly and tells him that she wants to go watch the match of Shinmaruko High since she is a huge Takiwa fan. At the match, Chiba jumps above Mamoru and scores a goal even though Mamoru tries to push him back. The team gets a foul, so Chiba gets a free throw in and he scores another goal. Takiwa then steals the ball from Sora, and as he tries to throw the ball, he tricks Sora into touching him, which gets the team another foul. He makes a 3-point shot again while Chiaki also joins the spectators. Shinmaruko High's player baits one of Kyusuryu High players into a foul, and as a result, Kyusuryu High player gets ejected from the game. Chiba then announces a timeout and yells at his team for being desperate losers. Sora tells the referee that they will play with 4 players and that they will win. Shinmaruko High then scores 44 points above them till the halftime gets announced. During the break, a player suggests asking Chiaki to fill in, and Mamoru tells him about how Chiaki ditched their final game in middle school because he didn't want to seem uncool. Meanwhile, Sora realizes that he is pretty fatigued, and Madoka tells him that his arm has a cramp due to which he can't make proper shots. He tells her that he still aims to make a difference even in this condition. The match resumes with Shinmaruko High dominating the match again, and Sora switches his dribbling to one hand due to his muscle cramp. In the past, Sora's mom teaches him to make a basket shot using 2 hands in case his muscles ever feel strained. He uses her advice, and using 2 hands, he scores a goal. Shinmaruko High puts a 3-man defense on Sora to stop him from scoring, so Mamoru tries to score himself but ends up getting pushed out of the court. Chiaki starts to leave when he watches all this, but his girlfriend tells him that she's staying behind for Takiwa's sake. Madoka follows him outside and tries to convince him to play with the team, but he tells them that the team looks really uncool, and that nobody steps in the court to lose the game. At the game, one of Shinmaruko High's delinquents throws an empty can at the court and Sora trips over it. Things get heated as players come close to fight, but Sora convinces them to resume the match since they still have a chance. Just then, the fatso Chiaki walks in and throws a table at the Shinmaruko delinquents. He joins the team as the 5th member and immediately gets penalized as the match starts. Up next, Takuya tries to dunk the ball, but Chiaki intercepts him and recovers the ball. He then counterattacks and passes the ball to another player who scores. The match resumes with Chiaki continuing to show off extraordinary moves. He again throws a wild pass at Mamoru, and after that he makes a sneaky pass to Sora, who throws a 3-pointer basket shot. Shinmaruko High starts to realize how much of a genius Chiaki actually is. With 30 seconds left to the end, Kyusuryu High players decide to give their best to score one last time, while Shinmaruko High players also gear up. Takuya manages to take the ball near the goal, and Sora starts running in the opposite direction as he believes in Mamoru's skills. Mamoru steals the ball from Takuya by jumping high and passes it to Chiaki, who makes a bowling-type pass to Sora. Sora then makes a 3-pointer shot, but at the last second, the buzzer sounds and Kyusuryu High fails to get a goal. The others tell Sora to cheer up as both teams line up. Chiba vents to Sora that his middle school had a rule not to allow players below 165 centimeters to play, due to which he now enforces the same rule. Madoka carries a sleeping Sora to his home, which turns out to be a barbershop. His grandma lays him down and then starts giving Madoka a haircut. She also reveals that Sora's mom is in a hospital due to her illness. In the past, the doctors told Sora's mom Yuki to move to Kanagawa Hospital for better facilities, and she tells Sora not to come with her since he will only cause trouble. He yells at her and leaves, while Yuki reveals to Sora's dad that she wants Sora to focus on basketball rather than staying with her at the hospital all the time. Sora ends up listening to all this, and at the time of her leaving, he promises to win his first tournament in high school so that he can come visit her. Sora's grandma reveals that Sora moved to Kanagawa in secret so that he could go show his mom the trophy in an instant if he wanted to, and that she revealed this secret to Yuki already. Sora then wakes up and starts to head to school, but Madoka tries to stop him. He confesses that he cannot afford to lose his first tournament, which is the National Inter-High. The next morning, Madoka follows Sora as he runs laps early in the morning and even to the school gym where he practices basketball. The other players join him as well, but the next day, a teacher stops them from playing in the gym unless they can get the principal's permission. Though, they still practice dribbling at the side like a bunch of losers. Mamoru tells Chiaki that the principal will give permission only if they don't end up getting into fights, otherwise the team will get disbanded. Soon Chiaki decides to join the team when 2 girls show up to become team managers. Meanwhile, the other players come across a junior playing basketball who seems to have some sick moves. The player named Kite ends up punching Yasuhara, who is in the team, and even fights the others. Just as things get heated up, Mamoru steps in and tells the children to stop fighting. Kite still tries to trigger him by kicking, but he just headbutts his kick. Kite becomes intrigued by Mamoru's attitude, while Mamoru tells his team about the no fighting rule the next day. They all discuss that Kite seemed to have good basketball expertise. The team heads to the gym where they spot Kite showing off his moves amongst the girls. He makes a goal and ends up smacking a girl accidentally. The school treats the injured girl, and Mamoru even apologizes to her on his knees for Kite's mistake. Later, Sora notices a worn-out basketball in the clubroom, and the others tell him that it belongs to Kite. Sora hands it back to Kite and invites him to join the team officially, but he only punches him hard and tells him to get lost. The next day, Sora tells the team that he doesn't think Kite is actually such a big thug. They go to the gym where they see that Kite has beaten up a bunch of students. When Sora interferes, he tells him to get lost again, so Madoka slaps him and tells him to stop acting like a spoiled brat. The club advisor Satsuki witnesses all of this and tells the basketball team that they are disbanded because of their fight. Mamoru doesn't correct him, and when Kite starts talking to someone on the phone, Sora slaps his phone away. Kite then tells Satsuki that he isn't on the basketball team, and Satsuki tells him that he will probably be expelled for causing such a ruckus. The next day, Madoka comments to Sora that Kite doesn't seem to be a coward since he took responsibility. On the way back home, Sora comes across Kite, who's talking to his little sister on the phone. He tells her to wait for him as he's going to make his name in the Inter-High tournament. In the past, Kite's stepdad scolds him a lot for being a delinquent and even sends him to Kanagawa after middle school to get rid of him. In the present, Sora again tries to convince Kite to join the team to fulfill the promise he made to his sister. He continues yapping endlessly, so Kite challenges him to a one-on-one match, and that if Sora can take the ball from him, he will join the team. Sora tries hard at first but realizes that Kite's game is just on another level. Seeing Sora trying so hard, Kite recalls how he used to play basketball endlessly with his real dad. In a moment, Sora steals the ball away from him, but just then, Satsuki joins them and tells them Kite has actually been expelled from the school. Yasuhara also joins them and tells Satsuki that he has brought along the guys that Kite beat up to reveal the truth. The senior students tell Satsuki that they ganged up on him and kicked his basketball, due to which Kite beat the crap out of them. Satsuki still refuses to listen, so Kite bids farewell to everyone. On the way, he comes across Chiaki taking a dump and starts confessing everything to him as if he's a certified therapist. Mamoru joins them too and tells Kite that he can understand him. He then asks him whether he is a loser or not, since he quit basketball before even properly trying. The next day, Sora keeps pestering Satsuki to reverse his decision and even follows him to the toilet to plead Kite's case to him. Kite joins him too and asks Satsuki to give him another chance, since he knows he will take Kyuzuryu High to Inter High. By chance, the principal, who's also in the washroom, listens to his request and gives his approval to reverse the expulsion. Kite officially joins the basketball team and starts advising the others on how to play. One day, the senior students from before take Kite and beat him up for fighting with them. The basketball members come to help him, but he requests them to let him be. The seniors beat him up like there's no tomorrow, and they rush away when Satsuki spots this debacle. Kite then tells him that he now knows how to take on pain to achieve something greater. The team heads to the gym for practice, where Kite tells Sora about how his dad died in a work accident, and how he bought him a leather basketball despite being a cheapskate. Mamoru then tells him to apologize to the girl who got hurt because of him, and he reveals that he's already dating her. Chiaki declares war on him after hearing this. The team practices basketball and Kite realizes that Sora has a lot of unbelievable skills. They all then run laps on Satsuki's instructions, and Sora tells Mamoru to come up with proper guidance or training schedule to improve the team's performance. The team then goes to watch match of the tournament, in which Shinmaruko High is also playing. To their surprise, Shinmaruko High seems to be losing the match to the rival team, but still Chiba and Takuya team up together to score goals. In the end, Shinmaruko High loses by a few points, but it gets the team motivated to start practicing more if they want to dominate the other schools. During a team practice, Sora ends up ripping a hole in his shoes, so after school, he goes to multiple shops to get the hole fixed. All the shopkeepers tell him to buy a new pair rather than fix an old shoe, but he doesn't listen to them. He then enters a shop where he comes across one of his schoolmates, Nanao, who ends up falling on him as her first greeting. She tells him to leave his shoes behind for her to fix them, and even takes responsibility when she realizes how passionate he is about his shoes. She also advises him to change the insoles of his shoes, which will help him in his speed, and even gives him her shoes as replacement till he gets the repaired shoes back. When he's about to leave, she tells him that she found him really cool at the match with Shinmaruko High, which makes Sora think that she might have the hots for him. At home, he keeps thinking about her and even struggles to sleep at night like a hormonal 12 years old. The next day, he notices that Chiaki and the delinquents are very serious about their practice, and it makes sense when Satsuki introduces Nanao as the team manager. She comments that she's joining because she likes basketball, while Chiaki thinks that she's joining because of him. During practice, Chiaki pulls out some unbelievable moves which actually impress Nanao. As she watches everybody practice, she keeps getting impressed by everybody's moves, but when Sora makes a three-pointer shot, she is left speechless. Madoka then welcomes her too, and they both have their girlish bonding moment, since Nanao was Madoka's team's manager in middle school. The team continues their practice, and they also give each other advice on how to improve. Nanao comments that although the team is good, they don't stand a chance at winning an actual game, and to prove her theory, Madoka challenges the team to play a match with the girls' team. The boys reject this offer since they don't want to take the girls seriously, and one of them suggests that they will play if the girls will strip naked if they lose. Nanao tells them that Madoka will get the punishment if the girls' team loses, and this hypes up the boys' team, so they agree to play. Nanao becomes the coach of the girls' team, while Satsuki gets to become the coach of the boys' team, although he doesn't know anything about basketball. Both teams line up and the match begins with Mamoru taking the ball more energetically than ever. The girls get scared by the huge sizes of the boys, and Kite then dribbles past one of them quickly and makes a two-pointer shot. The girls go for a counterattack, but Mamoru steals the ball from them and the boys rush towards the goal. Madoka decides to pressure Sora into the left side to take advantage of his weakness, but to her surprise, he rushes to the left side himself, and when Chiaki passes the ball to him, he easily scores a goal. He then reveals to Madoka that he's been practicing with the boys to shoot from that side, which has helped him overcome his weakness. Madoka starts to think that the boys actually may have a chance at Inter High, and just then, on Nanao's instructions, the girls go into the formation of zone defense in which they all take their place around the goal. When Sora moves to make a three-pointer shot, Madoka blocks him, so he rushes past her and one of the girls steals the ball from him. The girls then block all the players separately, leaving Sora to rush after Madoka alone. He tries to block her, but she just makes a three-pointer shot while taking advantage of Sora's height. Mamoru instructs Sora to switch if the girls try to exploit his height again. Up next, Nanao instructs the girls to block Kite with 3 members if he aims for the goal. And sure enough, as per her prediction, when 3 girls block him, he doesn't make a pass to any other player, rather he decides to score himself. He ends up pushing a girl again, which earns the team a foul, and Nanao reveals that his inability to make passes come from his cocky attitude and confidence in his skills. The girls score another 3-pointer, and so the boys take a timeout to discuss a strategy. Nanao comments that the boys are a powerful team, while Chiaki subs out Kite and Sora since their weaknesses are costing the team goals. The match begins with 2 new players, and Mamoru suggests using Yasuhara to break the girls' zone defense, but Chiaki tells him that they are gonna play on fair ground. The boys try to break the defense of the Pipsqueak girls, but one of the players named Name ends up holding the ball for too long, which restarts the game. Up next, Yasuhara tries to go for the goal, and he even manages to feint, but at the last moment, the ball slips from his hands and goes to Nabe, who passes it to one of the girls. The girls continue to make more scores, and Nanao tells Kite and Sora that they should realize that their fundamental weakness is that they think their individual powers can make them win, but they need to think as a team. The girls then win the match, much to Madoka's delight. The boys become upset at the loss while Sora tries to cheer them up. Nanao also leaves them on seeing this and starts to think about how her planning causes the team to become less motivated. Sora follows her, and she reveals that she was also scolded for giving out her opinion in middle school, and that she becomes obsessed with winning when she puts her mind into it. She tells him that she won't be in the team anymore and leaves. Sora finds her left behind diary, and the boys open it to discover that her diary contains detailed notes on their performance. Madoka reveals that Nanao was actually a player herself till middle school, and that she has experience of an experienced coach. The team decides to get her back, and just then, Nanao arrives wet at the gym after falling in a stream. They request her to come back into the team, and after useless yapping on both sides, Nanao joins back the team. From the get-go, she starts drilling the team and instructing them to run laps around the school ground. She then announces a training camp to train them so that they can win some district matches and become eligible to apply for Inter High. Satsuki informs them that the school doesn't have any budget for them, so the boys work odd jobs to gather money to go to a training camp. Sora delivers milk in the neighborhood, and one of his milk bottles even reaches his mom in the hospital. They manage to save a little money, and Satsuki also gives them funds out of his own pocket. After gathering a small amount of money, Nanao announces that the training camp will be at school grounds only. During the vacations, Madoka doesn't go with her family to Fiji due to her fever. The boys come to school for their training camp with their luggage, and mostly everyone brings groceries with them. Nanao brings shoes for the boys and also tells them she'll be sleeping with them in the gym. Madoka visits the boys only to find them completely tired from all the running they have been doing, and Nanao tells her that she's training their stamina for now. Madoka later makes food for the boys, which gets Mamoru hospitalized. The girls take a bath together while Chiaki recruits the boys to go a suicide mission to spy on the girls. They all sneak over to the bathroom while Nanao confesses to Madoka that she doesn't think she can become a proper coach like this. The boys discover an old man in the bathroom while the girls leave a bathhouse outside the school. The next day, the team runs stretches and then practices their footwork. Later at night, Sora goes to the gym for solo practice, where he discovers that Kite's already practicing by himself. He starts practicing his shots, and Kite asks him whether they can really reach Inter High. Yasuhara joins their practice too, and he tells him that every team starts somewhere. They soon join the others who are playing games by themselves, and Kite tells them to get serious if they want to reach Inter High. He then gets into an argument with the others about not being serious, and afterwards Chiaki tells him that not everybody is on the same page as him. The next day, the team discovers that the two players Nabe and Chucky who weren't serious have left the camp with their luggage. Meanwhile, Nabe and Chucky come across some middle schoolers and challenge them to a match. Kite tries to stop Sora from going out to search for them. Meanwhile, the middle schoolers win the game against Nabe and Chucky much to their surprise. Sora tells Kite that basketball is all about having fun and he sets out to search for his missing teammates. Sora finds them both and tries to convince them to come back to the team with his endless yapping, but they don't listen to him. Afterwards, Nabe and Chucky both waste their time wandering around, sleeping over and eating ramen. They keep discussing basketball while they are eating, and one time they come across a player whose girlfriend tells him that she finds him cool due to his basketball playing. This starts to change their mind. Meanwhile, nobody pays attention to Sora as he tries to convince the others to bring them back. Nao gets a call from Madoka that she saw Nabe and Chucky in a park playing. So the whole team goes to the park only to discover that both players are playing basketball against the previous middle schoolers. They keep sucking at playing, but still they use defensive techniques to steal the ball, and somehow Sora steps in and makes a shot. They both decide to give basketball another try then, and Kite even compliments them a little. Mamoru returns from the hospital to find his team training with full spirits. Kite also gives advice to Yasuhara on how to make a shot. Nanao tells the team that they will have a practice match at the end of the training camp, and before she can reveal the rival team, a wannabe fancy guy named Kabachi enters the scene and introduces himself as Kita High's ace plus as Nanao's cousin. He tells Nabe that he looks like Kyuzuryu High's ace, so he challenges him to test his skills. He ends up slipping on the court, and after that he tells the team that he accepts their invitation to the match with Kita High. Nanao reveals that Kita High is a game although they lost all their matches to Shinmaruko High. The team then starts practicing screens as per Nanao's instructions, and slowly they start to improve day by day. Near the end, Nanao shares the players' formation with the team, and since Sora's height can be a disadvantage, she devises a tactic to strengthen the team's defense. While the team trains based on their new formation, Sora does footwork alone, and afterwards he tells Nanao that he really wants Takua. Wanders in town on his day off and comes across Kita High's team, who is going to Kyuzuryu High to have their practice match. At Kyuzuryu High, Nanao gives Sora his original shoes back, and he tells he will use her shoes one last time in the match. Kita High's team arrives along with Takua, and one of their players, Kanishi, greets Mamoru and Chiaki since he was their junior in middle school. He also tells them that basketball isn't a sport they can come back crawling to whenever they want, which pisses off Mamoru. Kabachi hits on Nanao like there's no tomorrow for a desperate loser like him, and also realizes that Nanao may have feelings for Sora. Sora tells Takua that they have gotten much stronger, and he tells them to stay alert of Kabachi, Kita High's ace player. Kabachi also becomes pissed when he interacts with Sora due to his hormonal issues, and Mamoru also decides to teach Kita High a lesson. Nanao also wishes Sora good luck, and the match begins. Both teams start scoring one by one, and Kita starts to score, making Takua realize that they have found a new forward. The team uses screens which they practiced in the camp, and Sora successfully scores a goal. Seeing all of this, Kita High's coach calls a timeout and tells the team to put on their uniforms as they are going to play seriously now. The team tells him that they were already serious from the get-go, while Nanao guides the team members individually on who to block and defend against. The match resumes with Sora moving against Kabachi, and Kabachi recalls how Nanao selected the shoes on his recommendation, which Sora is now wearing in the match. He dribbles in a fancy way and rushes past Sora just to make a point. He then jumps for a shot, and after throwing an air kiss at Nanao, he makes a two-pointer shot, but the timer runs off and his goal doesn't get counted. Kyuzuryu High scores 2 more points, and Mamoru ends up getting blocked by Kanishi. Kabachi then scores the basket while also deliberately leading Chiaki to a foul. Kabachi makes a 3-pointer shot through a free throw because of the foul, and later he blocks Kite when he tries to score a goal. Meanwhile, Kanishi keeps blocking Mamoru as he asks him why he had returned to basketball since he still sucks at play. Kanishi then attempts to goal, and Mamoru jumps to stop him, but Kanishi cleverly passes the ball to Kabachi, who makes a 2-pointer shot. Sora then attempts to make a 3-pointer shot, and Kabachi comes to block him. He pulls a fake on Kabachi, but then Kanishi steals the ball from him and passes it to Kabachi, who does a dunk shot. Nanao calls a timeout, and she then lays down the plan for the team's counterattack. According to her instructions, the team changes their formation, in which all the 4 players form a sort of a diamond at the defense side, while Sora goes one-on-one against Kabachi to block all his moves. Sora keeps blocking and defending against Kabachi's moves as he recalls how he practiced the same with Kite, who was much faster than Kabachi. Kita still manages to goal due to a delay in one of the players' reaction, and next Sora continues blocking Kabachi, which annoys their whole team. With a few minutes left to the first quarter end, Sora tries to get the ball when it's passed to Kabachi, but instead he ends up tapping it to outside. Kita gets a throw in, and next Kite scores a 2-pointer goal. The first quarter ends with both teams having equal scores, and Nanao gives the team more guidance on how to proceed in the next quarter. She switches Yasuhara with Nabe, while Kita coach tells Kabachi to stop scoring since he can't even shake off a pipsqueak Sora. This gets him more fired up, and as the match resumes, Chiaki faces Kita point guard. He uses his blind spot to pass the ball to Mamoru, who passes it to Yasuhara, who goes for the basket. And with Kite's help, the team scores another 2-pointer. Sora continues to block Kabachi, but when he sees an opportunity, he steals the ball, and before scoring, he passes the ball to Yasuhara, who does a 2-pointer shot. Mamoru tries to block Kanishi's shot and ends up getting a foul, which leads Kita to make scores through 2 free throw-ins. Kabachi decides to change tactics, and he starts blocking Sora just like he was previously being blocked. Both the players run back and forth around each other to brush each other off like a bunch of toddlers, and Sora recalls how his mom used to tell him that endurance and stamina are very important for midget players like him. Chiaki makes a clever pass to Sora, which Sora receives, and he then rushes to the goal. Kabachi is unable to follow him properly as Sora then makes a 3-pointer shot. To shake Sora off, Kabachi runs laps around the court with Sora on his tail, and it seems that both players are having a stamina competition. Sora keeps blocking him, and Kita players lose another opportunity to goal as they can't pass the ball to Kabachi. Taku arrives at his school's gym to start practicing, and he finds that Chiba is already there despite having a day off. Sora's defense loosens as Kabachi runs to the basket to score, but Kite steps in and blocks him. Once again, the ball comes to the center, and when Kita player passes the ball to another, Sora steals the ball and does a 2-pointer shot himself. Next, Sora tries rushing after Kabachi again, but Kabachi runs ahead of him. Sora thinks initially that Kabachi has started running faster, but as his steps falter, he realizes that he is the one who's getting slow. Kabachi then breaks his defense and scores a shot. Nano immediately switches Sora with Chucky, and Chucky gets tasked to block Kabachi. He fails miserably at defense as Kabachi breaks through him and scores another goal. Meanwhile, Sora sits on the bench as if he's constipated, and Nano tells him to rest up since he will get his chance. On the court, Yasuhara gets his 4th foul, so Nano calls out a timeout and switches him out with Nabe. Chucky requests her to switch him out, but when he sees the intense aura around Sora, he stops and instead readies himself to take on Kabachi. Kita score due to a free throw-in, and Kite then makes a 3-pointer shot. The ball comes to Kabachi, and as he breaks through Chucky's defense once again, Nabe comes to block him. Nabe and Chucky both block Kabachi together, leaving only 3 players behind to maintain defense. When Kabachi breaks through their defense, Kite steps in and steals the ball from him. Copying Kyuzuryu, when Kite rushes to the goal, 2 of Kita players start blocking him. When he slips past them, 3 players start blocking him and even steal the ball away from him. Kita then scores a goal through Kanishi. With 1 minute left till halftime, Kita leads the game while Kyuzuryu struggles to score a goal and to maintain defense at the same time. At the last minute, Sora requests Nano to switch him back, and with 30 seconds left, Nano switches Nabe out with Sora. Sora rushes towards the goal from the get-go and breaks through 2 defenders easily. Kabachi rushes after him, and at the end he makes a difficult pass to Kite, who make a 2-pointer shot. With a few seconds left, Kita pushes in hard on the other players, and finally there's a breakthrough as Chucky passes the ball to Sora, and Sora makes a 3-pointer shot. The first half ends with both teams having equal scores, and Kyuzuryu boys discuss how they are going to win the game in the next half. Chiaki suggests they eat BBQ after the match, and they all pester Satsuki to treat them. Nano tells him to lie for the team's sake, so Satsuki agrees, and this boosts the team even more. Madoka comments to Mamoru that his game seems off, but he doesn't tell her anything. At Kita side, the coach strategizes on how to win, and when he discusses Mamoru, Kanishi tells him that Mamoru can score, but his game is a little off today. Madoka, who overhears this, wonders why he is lying, and the second half then begins. Kabachi tells Sora that he loves Nano, and Sora tells him that he can't have their manager. On the court, Kita does an overload formation in which they push the team to one side of the court, and they then pass the ball to Kanishi. Mamoru tries to block him again, but he only fails and ends up getting a foul, which not only earns Kita 2 scores but also another free throw-in. Kanishi tells Mamoru that he lied to him when he left the team in middle school. In the past, Mamoru tells the team in middle school that there's nothing wrong in sucking, which motivates a loser like Kanishi. Kanishi then becomes more inspired by him when he sees Mamoru stay after everyone just to practice, so he joins him in practice too. Later they both practice with Chiaki and they all go home together. In the present, Mamoru becomes agitated since he doesn't like being called a liar, so he ignores Chiaki's signal and goes to score himself, but Kanishi blocks him easily. The ball goes to Kita High while Kanishi once again starts yapping to Mamoru about their past. In middle school, after 1 year of practicing together, Mamoru slowly starts to lose the will to play, and after one particularly bad day, he thinks of telling Kanishi that he is quitting. Kanishi instead asks him to practice with him at the gym, and Mamoru lies to him that he will come, but he never shows up to practice again. In the present, Kanishi jumps to goal again and Mamoru doesn't even try to stop him, so Kita High earns 2 points. Mamoru realizes that Kanishi has been practicing all this time even when he had quit. The team thinks that Mamoru should be switched out, but Sora tells them to believe in Mamoru. Kite makes a foul which gets Kita High 2 free throw-ins, and Sora tells Mamoru that he believes in his rebounds. Kita High scores through their first throw-in, and on the second throw-in, the ball doesn't go through, so Mamoru jumps for a rebound. Kanishi ends up passing to Kabachi, who makes a 3-pointer shot, and Mamoru tells the team to focus on counterattacking. Sora then attempts to make a shot which doesn't go through, but Mamoru jumps high above Kanishi and retrieves the ball. Sora's mom's nurse takes Yuki out on a stroll, and Yuki requests her if they can take a stroll outside. Kite attempts to make a shot, but it doesn't get through, and Nanao announces to switch Kite with Yasuhara. Kite then trips because of a leg cramp while Yasuhara enters the court with 1 foul remaining till he is ejected. Sora then rushes to make a goal and instead collides with Kabachi, which earns him a foul. The team starts to lose stamina and their score gap also begins widening. Meanwhile, Madoka runs outside when she gets a call from her sister, and she comes across Yuka, who has arrived with her sister, who's Yuka's nurse. Seeing Sora completely wiped out, Chiaki asks him to become a point guard in his place, and he takes the position of a forward to increase the team's score. In the past, Nanao discusses how Chiaki's height can be used to score goals, while Sora can become the point guard and he can still score 3-pointer shots from a distance. On the court, Sora struggles at being the point guard because he finds it difficult to make passes due to his short height. He makes a bad pass, due to which Kita High steals the ball and Nabe ends up getting a foul. Chiaki then tells Sora to make bold moves to get the game going. Madoka greets Sora's mom Yuka and also invites her inside to come watch the match, but she tells her that she only wanted to feel the basketball's match aura in the air. She tells her that she can't let Sora know that she already knows he's in Kanagawa, and then she gives her a handmade charm to give to Sora. She asks her not to tell Sora that she gave it to him, and even tells her that he'd be overjoyed to receive a gift from a beauty like her. She then asks her whether Sora is having a good time playing basketball. Sora steals the ball and goes for a 3-point shot, but he ends up missing the basket. However, Chiaki jumps and pushes the ball in. The match resumes with burning passion as Kyuzuri High continues scoring to close the gap. Mamoru, who's finally over the yapping demons of his past, blocks Kanishi, and Sora makes another 3-pointer shot. With a few minutes remaining, Kite is switched back in the game with his leg bandaged by Nanao. Both teams struggle to retrieve the ball, and Kyuzuri High gets a throw-in chance due to Yasuhara. Sora then makes a very smooth pass that goes under Mamoru's legs to Chiaki, and Chiaki makes a 2-pointer shot. With a minute left to the end, Sora comes face to face with Kabachi, and Kabachi attempts to make a 3-pointer shot. He fails and the team gets a rebound, but Kanishi bests Mamoru and retrieves the ball. Kita High aims for the goal, but they miss the basket, and Mamoru also fails to retrieve the ball as a rebound. The ball starts to go out of the court, but Chiaki somehow retrieves it and passes it to Sora. Sora thinks of passing it to Kite, which will earn them 2 scores to tie the match, but he makes a split-second decision and makes a 3-pointer shot. The 3-pointer shot doesn't go in the basket, and before the team can score again, the match ends and Kita High wins. Both teams greet each other, and Kanishi, the official yapper of the team, taunts Mamoru once again. Mamoru tells him that his skills held the team back, and as the team is leaving, Kita High's coach tells Sora that his mistake was that he hesitated in making a choice to pass the ball to either Kite or to score himself. He tells him that the hesitation was due to his switch in the role to a point guard. The team discusses the loss after the match, and Kite's hormones get the best of him as he rushes out. Even Mamoru feels down, and Chiaki tells the team that Kita High wasn't even trying their best because they didn't have two of their best players. Sora also cries in frustration, so Madoka decides to give him the gift later. Satsuki also consoles Nanao and decides to treat the team with BBQ despite their loss. The next day, Sora almost dies with happiness when Madoka asks him to walk back home with her after school, but he ends up getting roped into cleaning duty after school. He rushes to Madoka after his cleaning duty and comes across a random guy confessing to her. She tells the guy that she has the hots for someone else, and afterwards she and Sora walk back home together. Madoka asks Sora whether he likes someone, and he reveals that he doesn't, and that he doesn't like when people look down on him. Madoka then ends up giving Sora a wristband of her own as a good luck charm rather than the handmade charm his mom gave to her, because she thinks that the true meaning behind the gift will be lost if she gives it. The sports tournament starts at the school in which Chiaki and Abe have some sort of dramatic showdown while playing baseball. Abe makes a home run as he hits one of the monstrous balls thrown by Chiaki, but Chiaki threatens his teammates and ends up the winner. Kite shows off his riz in the class basketball match, which makes the girls swoon, and Sora's class wins a match too, although he focuses more on being a point guard. Kite then tells him that they wouldn't have lost if Sora had passed him the ball properly. Nanao points out that Sora didn't shoot a single three-pointer in his previous game, and Chiaki appears out of nowhere to reveal that Sora couldn't shoot it. He explains that after missing the final shot in their game against Kita High, a mental barrier has appeared in Sora's mind that prevents him from taking the shot. He says that it's his fault for trying to make Sora a point guard, which he is bad at. Sora gets frustrated and declares that he'll shoot many threes in the next game. The game against Kite's team begins, but Sora still remains indecisive whenever he sees his teammates open. Kite continues to score against him while his own team fails to get a single point. Sora finally starts getting a hold of himself and does a fake first, but tries a three-pointer on the next try but misses. He recalls how his mom also used to call him a bad point guard, and on the next try he manages to put the ball into the bucket, finally overcoming the barrier inside his head. The game ends and Kite's team wins, but Kite throws down a few words of wisdom, telling Sora that it doesn't matter if he passes or shoots. What matters is that he scores. Nanao tells Mamoru about how she needs another player to join the team to complete her ideal team, and is about to say that she needs a very tall person, but just then, very coincidentally, a tall guy passes by them. The next match also has the tall guy in it, and they learn that his name is Mikichi, but he faints before the match even starts. He wakes up after a short while and rejoins the game while all the basketball team members discuss how he is just tall and doesn't have any skills, but he manages to land a hook shot at that moment, which surprises them. They assume that it must have been a fluke, but shortly after, he manages to land another hook shot from his other hand, which assures them of his skill. Mikichi's team wins the game and Sora goes to him, and Mikichi explains that he wasn't good at anything, so he just used to practice his hook shots in middle school. Sora yaps about how he is jealous of his height, but Mikichi replies that he is also jealous of Sora's height. Afterwards, Sora goes to find Mikichi to ask him to join the team and finds him in the chemistry club, where Mikichi explains that he likes doing experiments. Nanao comes to bring Sora to the training and also invites Mikichi to join the team before telling him to consider her invitation. Mikichi comes to school early and goes to the gym when he hears the team practicing early in the morning. Sora invites him to play a 3 vs 3 match, but he explains that due to his frail health, the doctor has told him not to play basketball, so he can't play with them. Later, Sora discusses with Kite about how loving basketball just isn't enough, since many players have to retire due to injuries or sickness. The preliminary lineup gets released, in which the team discovers that Shinmaruko High is also playing their block. The team continues their practice, and Nanao discusses with Mamoru about how their team needs a player with good height even if it isn't Mikichi. She also compliments Mamoru's high jumping skills even if he can't shoot to save his life. Kite takes some extra lessons, and on the way he overhears Mikichi telling his chemistry lab partners that he lied to the basketball team to stop them from recruiting him. Kite starts arguing with him, but then he stops when he recalls Satsuki's warning that he can't fight anymore. Sora also keeps practicing while he remembers that his mom also can't play basketball anymore due to her sickness. At night, Mikichi almost gets into an argument with a random passerby when he calls them annoying for gushing over his height, but he suddenly becomes dizzy and sits down. The basketball team members arrive and carry him back to his mansion, where they also meet his sister Sayuri. Sayuri shares how Mikichi has played basketball all his life, and suddenly Mikichi starts having a PTSD episode as he reveals that people started expecting too much from him even though he only wanted to have fun. The next day, the team reveals to Sora about how Mikichi was lying. Mikichi dreams about his basketball days and even goes to a shop to look at some sports shoes. He comes across his middle school friend Takahashi there, who also comments about how she's disappointed that he's not playing anymore. She even asks him whether he used to like her, and being the Sigma Chad that he is, he says no to her. He tells her about his chemistry club and she replies that she's happy for him. She then goes away with her boyfriend and Mikichi suddenly starts practicing basketball back at home. Finally becoming motivated, he decides to give basketball another try. Later, the team waits the rain out while the other teams are using the court. Sora practices how to look at everything together so he can be a better point guard, and two girls come to hand them the keys and they all discuss how the tests are coming up soon. They find Mikichi standing outside the court and he says that he wants to join the team. Sora says that he doesn't want someone who isn't passionate about basketball to join the team, but Mikichi replies that he really is passionate about it, so Sora challenges him to a one-on-one to prove it. Sora does a layup and scores the first time, but Mikichi doesn't hold back either and gets the next point. Sora makes a three-pointer on him and Mikichi recalls his middle school days when he used to play basketball. Mikichi dunks on Sora, and after 30 minutes of playing one-on-one and fully exhausting themselves, they finally end the match with Mikichi's victory. He smiles for the first time, which shocks everyone, and after the match he goes to meet Tsukishima. He stands in the rain like a sad anime and tells her that he did used to like her and still likes her till this day, but she responds coldly. He tells her that he is getting back into basketball and might face their school's team in the second round. Later, Nano asks Sora why he was acting like he doesn't want Mikichi to join when he was the one most excited for Mikichi to join, so he replies that he was just mad at him for lying. The next day, Satsuki announces to everyone that Mikichi is joining them but isn't present because he caught a cold, mostly probably due to his romantic act. He reveals that the team can use the court the whole time for the next 5 days while the tests are gonna occur, but tells them that he will stop them from playing in the preliminaries if even one of them fails a test. Nano asks them to raise their hands if they feel like they'll fail, and they all raise their hands, so she gives them all a crash course for their tests for the next few days while side by side they practice too. Madoka goes to meet Yuka and finds her together with her sister. She takes out the bracelet and says that it would be wrong for her to give Sora the bracelet, and they talk for a while. Afterwards, she asks her sister about the scar on Yuka's chest, and her sister explains that they tried to operate on her but stopped midway, which shocks Madoka. Meanwhile, Sora is excited for the upcoming preliminary match the next day. Nano checks the tests of all the team members and surprisingly they all pass. The team then does its final practice before their first match, while on the other hand, the rival team Shinjo High discusses how winning against Kyuzuryu High will be a piece of cake. Their captain Takahashi advises them not to belittle any team, and he also tells his friend Kojima, who is injured, that he will stay on the bench for at least 3 matches. At night, Sora repeatedly asks Nano about the match, and the next day he rushes to the gym to get some early practice in the morning. His mom even spots him on the way, and to Sora's surprise, he finds that half of his team is already at the gym despite the early morning. They tell him that they couldn't sleep and the rest of the members join them one by one. At noon, the team heads to the stadium where Sora acts like a little child going through puberty, and the team also meets Shinmaruko High, who has come to play their own match. Takahashi discusses with Kojima that they have struggled for 3 years to pave a path for their team so they will win, and the whole team becomes hyped for their match. Kyuzuryu High's team gets their brand new uniforms, and soon they all start their warm-up before their match. People start noticing Sora's unusual midget height and the team's different aura, while Mamoru becomes nervous before the match. Nano announces the initial lineup and the match with Shinjo High begins. The whole team becomes more nervous than usual and Mamoru gets the timing wrong at the beginning, so the ball goes to Shinjo High. Among the players, Takahashi smoothly bests Mamoru and makes a pass which earns Shinjo High its first goal. Kite notices that his team is even more damned now, so he steals the ball and rushes to the goal. He passes all the defenders by himself in a flash of light and scores a goal. He gets a free throw and so he scores another goal, and he then tells the team to snap out of their nerves in 2 minutes. Kyuzuryu High girls team play a competitive match in which one of the girls misses a free throw at the very end, and they fail to make a rebound, due to which they lose by 1 point. The girls cry and bid their seniors farewell since it was their last match. At the boys' match, Kyuzuryu High makes goals from mid-range due to the other team's tall players playing in defense, and Shinjo High announces a timeout when Kyuzuryu High gets a 6-score lead on them. Both teams discuss their strategy for the match, and Kojima reveals to Takahashi that they once played a match against Chiaki's team in middle school. He fills him in about Chiaki's extraordinary passing skills, and as the match resumes, Shinjo Hai switches their defense to 1 versus 1. Chiaki crosses Takahashi easily and scores a goal, but Takahashi tells his team that it's okay since Chiaki just took a bait. Kyuzuryu Hai continues to score, which widens their gap with Shinjo Hai, but slowly Shinjo Hai also begins scoring. Chiaki fails to make good passes to his team because of the good defense of the other team, which pisses him off. Takahashi steals the ball from and scores all by himself, although Sora rushes after him. Even Shinmaruko Hai's players begin realizing that by shutting down Chiaki's passes, Shinjo Hai is slowly turning the game in their favor. Mamoru fails to make a rebound due to Takahashi, while Takahashi gets charged with a foul. Sora then asks Chiaki to switch their positions, but Chiaki instead tells him to focus on his position. Shinjo Hai tries to score again, but Yasuhara rushes at their player and stops him by slapping his hand. This earns him a foul, and Shinjo Hai gets 2 free throw-ins, but they fail to score in both of them. The match resumes as Shinjo Hai continues to close the score gap, and once Chiaki even throws a pass that nobody catches. Chiaki attempts again and passes the ball to Kite, who receives the difficult pass and tries to score. His ball doesn't go through, and Mamoru jumps at the last second and tips the ball, which leads to a score. Chiaki gives away another foul in the next play, and Shinjo manages to score again with the momentum on their side. Shinjo closes the gap with only 2 points left between the two teams, and Yasuhara gets called for travel. Shinjo gets the ball again, and Takahashi makes a 3-pointer, which puts Shinjo in the lead. In the next play, Chiaki passes to Kite, who tries to score but gets blocked very badly, but Chiaki gets the ball again and makes his 3rd foul. Kazuhai calls a timeout, and Nanao tells Chiaki and Yasuhara to sit out while Mikichi and Chucky are subbed in. She tells them all what strategy they have to follow and how Sora will need to fill Chiaki's space. The game resumes, and the opponent just simply passes over Sora's head, and Takahashi tries to get a basket, but Mikichi prevents him from it, so he passes it instead and they score again. Sora gets frustrated, but Mikichi calms him down, and the Shinjo Hai team enters the court to watch the match. The game resumes, and Mikichi gets the ball, but Takahashi is on him, so Mikichi tries to do a hook shot, which gets blocked. Chucky grabs the ball but goes out of bounds. The refs discuss between themselves and decide that it was goaltending by Takahashi, as the ball was coming down the moment it left Mikichi's hand, so Kazuhai automatically gets 2 points, and Takahashi realizes that this was Mikichi's aim from the start. After another play, the ball goes out of bounds, so Sora gets it but is very stressed, but Mikichi helps him calm down again. Sora goes on to attempt a 3-pointer and misses spectacularly, but Mamoru gets the rebound. He passes it to Chucky, who gets scared to take the shot, so he passes to Kite, who does a fadeaway to score 2 points. Takahashi reminds himself that it's his last chance to go to Inter High, and Shinjo Hai makes a counterattack as their player makes a 3-pointer shot, which gets them into a lead. Sora remembers his conversation with Chiaki about being a point guard and channeling his inner Chiaki. He passes the ball to Mikichi, who smoothly passes it to Kite, who scores a goal. Meanwhile, Chiaki becomes all hormonal about not being good enough, and Shinjo makes a counterattack as they score again. Sora spots an opening, so he makes a very difficult pass to Kite, who takes it and scores a goal. The first half ends, and the team notices that Chiaki and Nanao are missing. Mamoru realizes that Chiaki must have run away, so he starts to panic, while Kita High members come across Chiaki eating ice cream at a convenience store. Chiaki makes them pay and then reveals to Kabachi about how he doesn't want to be uncool in front of Nanao. Kabachi gives him a free therapy lesson that Nao would never consider him uncool, and just then Nanao also finds him. She tells him to take it slow, and seeing her like this, he decides to work even harder for her sake to become the best basketball player in the world. Mikichi worries about his stamina, while Sora wishes that Chiaki would come back. The Kyuzuryu High girls team also visits the boys and gives them candies to get a calorie boost. Mamoru notices that Madoka has been crying, and Madoka then gives Sora a candy. She tells him something that leads him to make some kind of promise to her. Shinjo Hai has a sentimental moment as Takahashi tells everyone that he had fun playing with them and thanks them for all the hard work. He recalls how he always dreamed of playing a proper match like this. Meanwhile, Nanao returns to court and gives the team instructions on how to win in the next half. She switches Mikichi to the bench, and Chiaki then arrives as well. He requests Nanao to switch him back, and she warns him that she will switch him back if he gets a 4th foul. Meanwhile, Yuka tells her mother how she wants to see Sora's match. Back at the match, with Chiaki back in the game, they gain the momentum and begin scoring at a fast pace. They literally lock up Shinjo Hai, who struggle to score even a single point. Back at the hospital, Sora's grandmother gains permission from the hospital to let Yuka leave for a bit to see the match while the team continues to score with no signs of stopping. All the spectators are shocked by their performance, and Chiaki even does an elbow pass to Mikichi which shocks everyone. In the next play, Sora steals the ball and makes a fast break before passing by Takahashi and getting a bucket. Shinjo takes a timeout and the spectators start comparing Kazu to Shinjo High. The second senior player from Shinjo High named Kojima steps forward and says that he is sick of sitting on the bench. Takahashi recalls how they were the first 2 basketball players in Shinjo High, and even used to train middle schoolers to get players. Takahashi tries to stop him from playing due to a knee injury, but this frustrates Kojima, who says that he would rather risk his career than lose this match. All the juniors support him, so Takahashi agrees to it and the game resumes while Kojima gets his knee taped up. Shinjo High players suddenly get fired up as Kojima enters the court, and he begins instructing his teammates. Mamoru doesn't hold back against the injured and pushes against Kojima, who feels the pain in his knee. They both jump to get the rebound, but the ball goes out of bounds and Kojima reveals to his teammates that he pissed himself a little due to the pain. The game resumes and Shinjo finally starts getting back into the game, and they manage to stop Kite from scoring. Takahashi yaps about how they need to stop buckets and score buckets too to close the gap, and they start moving towards Kazu High's side to score this time. Takahashi passes and the other player is about to shoot the ball, so Mikichi tries to stop him, but they get baited and the ball is passed to Kojima. He moves forward despite the pain and does a fade away from a difficult position, but Chiaki gets the ball after it bounces off the rim. Shinjo manages to regain possession after stealing from Sora, who tries to stop Takahashi, but the ball is bounced over his head, which is very unfair to the short guy. Mamoru reaches on time to stop Takahashi from scoring, but he passes the ball to Kojima, who lands a 3-pointer. Shinjo High instantly starts celebrating over regaining the momentum, but in the next moment, Sora also lands a 3-pointer to shut them all up. Back at the hospital, Yuka rejoices over gaining the permission to leave, so she gets ready while Madoka's sister and Sora's grandmother wait with the taxi. Madoka's sister calls Madoka to reserve a seat for Yuka at a spot where Sora can't see her. The game is underway in the arena as Kyuzuryu High prevents Shinjo from closing the gap. Kojima does another fade away and manages to score, so Sora tries to shoot but passes to Kite at the last moment, who does a scoop shot over Kojima. Yuka arrives outside the arena where she encounters an old acquaintance from college, named Sakamaki, who is currently the coach of Yokohama High. He carries Yuka over to her stairs and requests that she let him help her. Kyuzuryu High takes a timeout in the last quarter as Mikichi is running out of gas, and Nanao tells him to sit out while Yasuhara replaces him. Yuka learns that there is a 15-point difference between the two teams and instantly assumes that Sora's team must be behind, but gets shocked when they correct her. Sakamaki says that Sora's career won't be long due to his team and physical disadvantage, and Yuka replies that this was Sora's own choice. The game resumes and Shinjo has it in their hands, but Chiaki and Sora manage to hold the team together. One of the Shinjo High players named Kazushi charges at Chiaki with the ball, so Chiaki falls back, but it makes it look like he was pretending to fall, so he gets his 4th foul. Nana sends Chucky out to replace Chiaki, but regains momentum when Takahashi scores a 3-pointer right after the free throw. The gap reaches single digits and the ball gets stolen from Sora again, which closes the gap even more. Kite demands to switch back inside, and afterwards Kojima throws some useless taunts at him. Mamoru saves a goal but ends up getting a foul, and as a result Shinjo High gets 2 free throw-ins. Their player misses both the free throw-ins and Mamoru takes the ball as a rebound. Chiaki starts having an existential crisis out of nowhere while Kite gets a ball and makes a 3-pointer shot, which increases the team's lead by 10 points. Sora tells the team to focus on defense by going one-on-one for the last 3 minutes of the match, which seems tough since the team is out of stamina. Madoka tells Yuka about all the players individually. Meanwhile, Shinjo High gets past Sora's defense and scores points. Sora then attempts another 3-pointer shot, and when the other team counterattacks, he runs after them. He jumps to avoid them from scoring but fails, and Shinjo scores 2 points. Finally, Sora collapses on the court and Chiaki carries him out like a defeated princess. Yuka rants about how Sora needs to have extraordinary stamina to last for the whole match, and that he should practice more. Madoka invites her to become the coach of Kyuzuryu High's teams once she gets better, which really surprises her. With Chiaki back on the team's morale is boosted and they keep defending to stop Shinjo from making any points. The points gap decreases to 6 while Sora vents pathetically about how he would like to be as better as the rest of the players. Mikichi tells him that he wants to be an all-rounder player like Takahashi, and that he's jealous of Sora since he is full of potential. Chucky gets a foul and Mikichi then gets switched in his place during the last 1 minute of the match. Shinjo High uses 2 of its free throw-ins to increase their score, and the match resumes with full passion as both teams try their hardest to win during the last 1 minute. Yuka leaves with her group for the hospital since she wants to hear about the final result from Sora himself, and she tells the doctor that she has found a dream to pursue now. Mamoru gets 2 free throw-ins due to a foul, and he misses his first shot, which is as expected. He makes the second shot and it doesn't go through either, but thanks to Mikichi's King Kong height, Mamoru recovers the ball. Shinjo High manages to steal the ball, and on Kajima's instructions, the ball gets passed to him. He scores 2 points and at the end his knee gives out, so he is switched out. With 30 seconds left to the end and a 2 points gap, the spectators wonder what the outcome will be since Kyushu High can't afford for the match to go into overtime because of their lack of stamina. Sora is switched back in and Kyushu High prepares to win the game in 30 seconds. The match resumes as Sora passes the ball to Chiaki, but Takahashi intercepts the ball, and the ball goes out of the court. Sora gets the ball again and the team rushes to the front court where he makes a pass to Kite. Kite tries to score, but the ball doesn't go through, and for the rebound, Mikichi messes up as he misses the ball. The ball ends up going to Takahashi, and to save the game, Chiaki does an intentional foul which ejects him from the game, but which gives Shinjo High 2 free throw-ins. Shinjo High announces a timeout with only 3 seconds remaining, and both teams discuss how to win the match in those seconds. Takahashi announces to switch the players so that only the seniors are on the court, including Kojima, and as the match resumes, Takahashi misses his first throw-in. For the second throw-in, Sora recalls his conversation with Nanao in which she predicts that Shinjo High will score from the outside to score points quickly in the last 3 seconds. In the hospital, Yuka is taken to the ICU as her situation worsens. The hospital calls Satsuki, who then takes Sora to the hospital along with Madoka. Madoka asks her sister how Yuka became so sick since she was fine earlier, and she reveals that she was just putting on a fake face for their sake. She tells her that Yuka's health has been declining since some time ago, and that she doesn't take pain relievers since they will make her unconscious, and she'd rather stay conscious to talk to Sora. Sora then visits Yuka in her room. Sora awkwardly greets his mom while his grandmother leaves the room to give the two of them some space. Yuka asks questions about Sora's well-being and comments on his uniform too. She then asks him about the match, so he lies to her that his team won even though Shinjo High scored at the end. He then tells her the details about the match, and at the end, his mom apologizes to him for not giving him a larger body. She then starts crying, so Sora begins yapping about his teammates and their playing. He then cries too as he thanks her for everything that she has done for him. At the court, the points are put on the board revealing that since the match went into overtime, Shinjo High won the match by 14 points. At the club, Chiaki plays video games while the others discuss their loss against Shinjo High. Mamoru snaps at him for getting 5 fouls which got him ejected from the game, and after smashing the locker like a hormonal teenager, Chiaki rushes out. He recalls how Takahashi told him after the match ended that they couldn't have won if he hadn't gotten ejected. Mikichi also thinks hard about his weakness, which costs the team their loss. After the match ends, Kita also becomes upset, especially since he has to tell his sister about the loss, and Yokohama High's coach approaches him. Coach Sakamaki appraises his skills and invites him to Yoko High, claiming that they have gone to Inter High the past 2 years. He taunts him that he can make the choice or waste his 3 years with a useless team. In the present, Satsuki finds the boys wasting their time, and he reveals that Sora's mother has passed away. Madoka's sister tells her that Yuka knew she only had summer to live, making Madoka realize that Sora probably wanted to reach Inter High because of this reason. Her sister drops her on the way and some guys start harassing her, but Chiaki arrives and beats them up. He says that the team's loss is only a minor setback. Meanwhile, Mamoru and the others blow some steam by playing baseball. Madoka then calls to tell them that their club is on fire. On the other hand, Kite calls Coach Sakamaki and rejects his offer by saying that he will rise to the top with his own team. Mikichi watches the second round of the tournament with his middle school friend Takahashi, in which Shinjo High loses, and he tells Takahashi that he will be back next year. Mamoru tells Satsuki that his cigarettes may have caused the fire in the club, and Kite storms out on hearing this. Mamoru declares that he will take all the responsibility, and afterwards Nanao punches him out of disappointment. Kite thinks that he trusted the wrong guys, and he also tells his sister about the team's loss. Madoka also goes about her day, and she begins thinking about how she has lost touch with everyone due to practicing too much basketball. She wonders whether there's any point to putting in so much effort. On the other hand, Satsuki defends the boys in front of the teacher as he thinks that some soccer players may have caused the accident. He tells the principal that under his guidance, the team has managed to balance their studies and sports both, but still the school suspends Mamoru and the others and also disbands the basketball team. Nano drops Sora a message asking about how he is while Mamoru wanders uselessly in the town till he comes across Madoka. She tries to cheer him up and even tells him that they can go out since they both don't have practice anymore, but Mamoru just snaps at her and tells her to get lost since he doesn't have any feelings for her. After being rejected by the Sigma Chad, Sora's grandma finds Madoka moping around in the rain, so she invites her in and feeds her some tea. She reveals that they all got back from their hometown the previous day, and that Sora hasn't said a word since Yuka passed away. She also reveals that Sora requested his dad to buy him something right after the funeral, but she doesn't know what it is and that Sora may stay in Nagano now. She then sends Madoka to Sora's room to rest, and Madoka starts crying in his room when she recalls everything. Nano comes across Mikichi in the burnt club room, who is repairing the walls, and he tells her that he doesn't want Sora to come back to a place like this and that he will somehow restart the club. Chiaki barges in Mamoru's room while Mamoru does his homework that he has gotten due to his suspension. Chiaki demands to wrestle him and keeps pestering him till Mamoru loses patience, and they both begin fighting like a bunch of gorillas. Chiaki then tells him to ask for forgiveness for what he has done. At the preliminary matches, Kabachi taunts Takiwa as usual, and the teams discuss how Kyuzuru High's team is in trouble due to the fire accident. Kite comes to the gym to practice, and just then, another Carrot Head also comes. He recognizes Kite and challenges him to a 1 vs 1 basketball match, but Kite simply refuses him. Carrot Head then gives a demo by making a shot which convinces Kite that he has got some skills, so Kite agrees to play with him. Mikichi repairs the club walls while Chiaki just spectates him, and Chiaki tells him he started playing basketball due to Mamoru. Nano then arrives and asks him about the wound on his face that he got from Mamoru. The Carrot Head named Hayu and Kite play basketball, and Kite realizes that he has never met such a skilled player in his life. Kite even falls down due to his dribbling, and Hayu then informs him that he's actually from Yokohama High. He tells him that he's glad to see that he can't play better than him, and he then heads back home with his teammate, who is another midget like Sora. Hugh's friend tells him that his small height doesn't bother him since he plans on making waves in the basketball world as a certified shorty. Sora returns back home after leaving his shoes in Nagano and dreams about Madoka that night. His grandma cuts hair in his sleep, and he then heads to school despite it being Sunday. At school, he walks into girls changing clothes at his old club room, and after they beat him up, Nano fills in about everything that's happened. After they discuss their remaining options, Nano decides to fill an application to form a new club which can later on become the basketball club, and Kite asks her whether she can promise to make the team strong enough to enter Inter High next year. She promises him, and so Kite also decides to join the club. Yasuhara goes on a run and comes across Nabe and Chucky playing basketball in a park. They tell him that they want to get stronger to enter Inter High next year. At school, Nano and the others plead with the teachers to form a club, but they tell them to find an advisor who will approve their application. They think that they shouldn't reach out to Satsuki since he must be getting some kind of punishment too. Sora goes along with his day as usual and even collides with Madoka. He starts having the hots for her, and she then asks him about Nagano and the basketball club. He shares with her that Mamoru and the others must be suffering the most because of the incident, while Madoka thinks about how Sora must be suffering the most. She gets emotional, so she runs away before he can ask anything. Mamoru visits Satsuki's home, where Satsuki reveals that he's taking off from school due to his wife's pregnancy, and that as punishment his pay will be cut for some months. Mamoru then selfishly begs him to let him play basketball one more time, and Satsuki's wife tells him that Satsuki has been working hard for them despite the low fee. She then asks him whether he has the right to ask such a question. Afterwards, Mamoru comes across Mikichi puking his guts out in a street, and Mikichi tells him about Nano has been working her butt off to form a new club. Kite, who has suddenly become Batman, goes on a mission to challenge well-known basketball players. He starts playing with a college basketball player. Meanwhile, Sora and Chiaki hijack the court at Mikichi's house where they practice their moves together. Mikichi doesn't give them permission to use his court, but they keep practicing despite training a lot in the day. He notices that Chiaki plays well when he's not the point guard, and once again wonders what their new team will look like. Chiaki and Sora then eat dinner at his house, and Mikichi tells them that he wants to win the Inter High. Mamoru cuts his hair as he decides to start a new chapter in his life. Mamoru and the others return from their suspension and apologize to the teachers. Nanao informs the team that the club formation is looking pretty hopeless since all the teachers have refused her request. They decide to ask Satsuki again, and Kite recalls how his team needs to be stronger if they want to win in future. Mamoru and Sora discuss their future, and when Madoka passes by them, she ignores Mamoru bluntly. Sora runs laps to increase his stamina according to Nanao's instructions, and later he asks her whether he should start muscle building. She advises against it since it can hinder his growth, and also tells him to stop eating so many calcium bars. After advising him some more, she leaves to check up on Chiaki while Sora starts having an existential crisis about his height. Mamoru goes down on his knees to beg Satsuki to become the club advisor again, and he tells him to give up since he can't do anything for them. Satsuki then meets up with the principal, who tells him that he made it mandatory for all students to participate in a club because he wanted the students to feel the thrill that he used to feel when he was once in the baseball club. They discuss the basketball team and how their punishment has gone on for too long. The principal calls the team to his office the next day and informs them they should play a match in front of all the teachers in order to prove to them that they are serious and to convince one of them to become their advisor. The team agrees, and Nabe declares that he has already arranged a practice match for the team. To everyone's surprise, he reveals that their rival team is Yokohama High. Meanwhile, Yokohama High plays a match against Kita High in which Yokohama leads the game due to their number 10 player Shiraishi. Shiraishi scores points as he jumps above Kabachi, and Kita High's coach tells Kabachi to beat him at any cost. During the last 10 minutes, Shiraishi gets switched with Hayu, which pisses off Kabachi, but soon Hayu starts dominating the game. Kabachi scores again and again, but Hayu easily scores more than him, and in the end Yokohama High wins the match. Nanao rushes to the stadium to watch the match and sees Kabachi, who is moping around like a desperate loser. Madoka's teammate Yoko asks her whether everything's okay with her since she has been off her game lately. After school, she goes with her friend to karaoke, and her friend invites some boys to cheer her up. She doesn't respond to any of their advances and afterwards feels drained at trying so hard. She then realizes that she has dropped her earring somewhere, so she goes back to the karaoke place to search for it. She doesn't find it there, so she keeps searching for it on the streets, and the boys from karaoke even suggest helping her out. She refuses their offer and keeps searching by herself in the dark. She recalls how her sister gave her the earrings before she was married, and just when she is about to give up, the same group of boys return and start looking for the earring with her since they realize that it must be precious to her. They search everyone, and eventually one of them finds the earring at the train station. One of the boys then asks her number, and she thanks everyone for the help. The Kyuzuryu High team bully Sora to treat them to drinks, and they then head to the city gym to practice for their upcoming match. The team discusses that they can't win against Yokohama High, which is a team that is in the region's top 16 teams. They also wonder why such a mighty team is even playing against them, especially since they are participating in Inter High. And Nanao tells them that it's likely that Yokohama won't even put in their best players in the match. She also feels like there's something missing in the team, and the team then enters the city gym, which is already filled with many other players. The others hesitate to go to the court, but Sora instantly wears his shoes and rushes to the court since he really wants to play a game. Afterwards, Sora and Nanao take the train to watch the preliminary match, and they both act awkward around each other like a bunch of kids. They even come across Takahashi and Kojima on the way, and they all go to the gym together to watch the official match. It's revealed that although Shinmaruko High has lost 2 matches, they have a chance to advance to Inter High if they can win their match against Yokohama High in the final match. Sora then wanders to Shinmaruko High's locker room, and Chiba tells him that they will surely win the match against Yokohama High. Babe asks Mikichi what kind of role he can play in the team, and as the team's center, Mikichi tells him that he would like to have an outside player on the team. Shinmaruko High and Yokohama High have an intense match, while Takahashi reveals to Nanao that Yokohama High's team aims to play 300 matches in 1 year. Takahashi comments that Yokohama's players don't have the strongest teamwork, while Takuya and Chiba team together to score some more points. Shiraishi gets switched to play the game, and Nanao points out that she wanted Chiaki to see the match since she plans on assigning him the same role as Shiraishi. She explains that Shiraishi plays the role of a point forward, meaning he does the job of a point guard near the basket, while Coach Sakamaki recalls how he had never seen a talent like Shiraishi. Chiaki, who is also watching the same match, spectates all of this, and Shiraishi continues to score again and again. Finally, Takuya and Shiraishi face each other, and Shiraishi passes by him. He aims for the goal, but Takuya stops him from behind and gets a foul. As a result, Shiraishi scores more points through the 2 free throw-ins. Up next, Chiba steals the ball and scores 2 points. With 5 minutes remaining, Coach Sakamaki switches Hayu in and tells him to score all he wants. Hayu starts scoring points left and right, which amazes the audience. Meanwhile, Chiba gets his 4th foul. As the captain, he tells the team to focus on winning and even scores 2 points to prove his point. Both teams continue scoring, but as the match resumes, the gap between the points doesn't decrease till finally the match ends and Yokohama High wins the match. Chiba preaches to the team that they all gave their best and later cries in the hallway. Shiraishi asks Takuya why he even went to such a loser school, and Kite vows to beat Hayu in their practice match. Later, a university tries recruiting Chiba, but Kojima and Takahashi invite him to their college instead, where they can all start a new basketball team. Nanao and Sora discuss their team's strength in comparison to Yokohama High, and Sora declares that they will win the match as long as Mamoru is standing under the basket to protect it. At Yokohama High, Coach Sakamaki brutally trains all the players, but Hayu still manages to skip out on some practice. After practice, the players discuss their midget player Yazan, who is still practicing overtime and who gets benched mostly due to his height. Shiraishi comes across a junior player named Mainta and tells him to quit if he is afraid of trying hard. Coach Sakamaki discusses that only Yokohama High's sophomore and freshman players will play the practice match against Kyusuryu High. Meanwhile, Mainta actually quits basketball after hearing Shiraishi's remark, and Sakamaki asks the other players to let him be since he must know his limits. Mainta comes across Hayu slacking off, and Hayu tells him to stop comparing himself with the others and to always aim high like him. Later, Mainta leaves the team and Shiraishi even asks him to take his pathetic shoes with him. To take revenge, Mainta sneaks back inside the dormitory and he notices the other players' worn-out shoes. He realizes that everyone else has been working too hard and becoming motivated once again. He rejoins the club the next day. Shiraishi comments that he can hustle after all, while Yazan just gives him the side eye. Madoka enjoys her time in the swimming pool while the boys' team watches the recording of Yokohama High's match against Shinmaruko High. Nanao tells the team that they have a chance of winning despite losing against every single team because she's going to switch the roles of the players. She gives different roles to Chiaki and Sora and also tells Kite that his solo style won't work against Yokohama High's players. Sora then practices on his own to master one of Kabachi's moves, which is a pull-up jumper, but he continually fails. He then visits Kita High and requests Kabachi to teach him the move, but Kabachi refuses. Kabachi keeps refusing him, but just when he leaves, Kabachi starts practicing his moves so that Sora can observe and learn his moves. Kite the solo wannabe Batman practices with the college boys again, who beat him easily while the rest of the team practice on their own. The next day, Mikichi and Sora pester him to join their practice, and he tells them that for now he has to overcome a wall on his own. Later, Nabe reveals to Sora that he wants to try shooting 3-pointers and that he was pretty useless in the previous game despite having many opportunities to score. Sora promises him that he will learn to score 3-pointers soon, and Kite on the other hand finally manages to score for the first time against the college captain Karasawa. Meanwhile, Sora teaches Nabe how to shoot and recalls how his mother also used to teach him in the same way. Nanao is shocked by how well Chucky defends, so she compliments him, and he explains that Mikichi advised him on how defense is about making it harder to attack. She wraps up the practice early so they can rest for the match tomorrow and reminds them of how they ended up in this situation. The next day, the principal tells the teachers to come watch the match, but they aren't happy about it. Sora meets Madoka at the rooftop and apologizes for not being able to keep the promise he made. He recalls how she was crying the last time they met, and she doesn't tell him why she cried, so he invites her to the match, but she says that she is busy. The Yokohama team arrives at the station and are feeling the heat, but Sakamaki reminds them that the Inter-High is held at a place much hotter than this. They reach the gymnasium and Satsuki acts as the temporary advisor. Sakamaki says that he hopes that both the teams can learn from each other and reveals that he made up his team of sophomores and freshmen. The Yokohama players start warming up and the teachers are shocked by the atmosphere and wonder if their students will be able to play against them. Nanao finds the team in a room where they worry about why Kite hasn't yet appeared. Sora assures everyone that Kite will come no matter what happens, and Nanao asks them to wear the away team uniform as they're the challengers. Meanwhile, Takahashi invites Chiba to his own college, but Chiba rejects the invitation, and they notice Hayu running by. Hayu arrives late and is scolded by Sakamaki, and Yazan notices Sora. Yokohama's starting 5 are introduced, including Hayu and Shiraishi. Chiaki tells Sora to calm down even though it's their first match after everything that happened, and reminds him that he will be their playmaker so he should remain calm. Kite arrives just before the match starts and says that he is ready to go in as soon as the game starts. Yakuma and Mamoru prepare for the jump ball and they're both even, but Yasuhara manages to get the ball. He is fired up and makes a fast break towards the post before getting the first basket, but it turns out that he scored in their own bucket. They're all shocked by what just happened and Shiraishi tries to tell Yakuma not to hold back, but Yakuma replies that he was giving it his best. Yasuhara notices that his body moved on his own and Chiaki tells Sora to control the game however he wants. Yazen starts getting hopeful about how Sora will play because they're both short and Sora makes a three-pointer right at the start. He makes another three and Chucky deflects the ball in the next play. Sora tells Chucky that he will be going for another three, so Chucky should shield him, so Chucky follows his words. Sora tries another three and misses, but Mamoru gets the rebound and passes to Chiaki, who deceptively passes back to Sora. Sora quickly steps back and makes another three-pointer. All the spectators are shocked by this and Sakamaki talks about how he would love to have a player like this too. Yokohama High's team doesn't stop either as they continue to score and manage to gain the lead in an instant. Sora gets distracted by the atmosphere, and the ball gets stolen from him, so Mamoru tries to stop them from scoring but gives away a foul. Yokohama manages to score the two free throws, and in the next play, Chiaki does a dunk after deciding that he will score his own points. The game continues with both teams scoring one after another, and they're surprised by how they're managing to hold off against such a strong team. Sora notices that something is wrong with the other team and Sakamaki wonders whether Hayu will be able to perform well as a starter, but realizes that he is getting too frustrated, that's why he keeps on missing. Yokoyama is subbed in for Hayu and Sakamaki tells Hayu that he intends to make him a starter. Yokoyama instantly lands a three-pointer after shaking off Sora, and Yasuhara misses the next bucket. Yokoyama manages to snatch the momentum and they continue increasing the gap thanks to their intense passing. Kyuzuryu High takes a timeout, trailing behind by 12 points, and Nanao gives all the players advice on how to play better. Kite gets subbed in for Chucky and the timeout ends. Yokohama's new player starts bickering with Sora at the start and gets called for traveling, so Sakamaki subs him out. Kite gets the ball and pushes in without skipping a beat and gets two free throws. He tells the rest that he will miss the second free throw intentionally to get the rebound, but Shiraishi manages to get the rebound and scores. Yasuhara misses the next shot he gets and Nanao tells Sora to regain control. Chiaki gets a charging foul in the next play as he gets two-manned and Kite shoots in the next try but misses. Mamoru tries to get the rebound but the ball goes out of bounds. Kite also makes a foul in the next play and Kite tells Yasuhara that he cannot stop Shiraishi because of the skill gap. Mamoru gets the rebound from the free throw and Sora manages to make a three and a two in a row. Kite makes a three in the next play and also gets a free throw, making it a 4-point play. With only 8 points behind, the first quarter ends and the only thing Nanao has to say is that their opponent is scoring too much in the paint. Mikichi gets subbed in Yasuhara's place and Hayu steps back into the game. Mikichi manages to steal an alley-oop at the start and makes a hook shot. Sora's opponent decides to isolate himself along with Sora to make it easier for his team to score three-pointers, as they'll be able to move more freely in a 4 versus 4. Kite manages to intercept the ball in the next play and Mikichi manages to score again. Nanao thinks about how she made two major mistakes before, firstly not telling Sora what to do and secondly not knowing when to sub Mikichi in. The unenthusiastic teachers from before are in awe of the proper match that they're watching, and Chiaki, the so-called genius, gets blocked. Hayu gets the ball and passes to Shiraishi, who tells him to keep Kite locked up. Simultaneously, Sora and his opponent are in a world of their own, talking about how going long range is easier for them as they're short. Sora, fully engrossed in the discussion, fails to react properly as his opponent suddenly rushes to the ball and makes a three-pointer. Mikichi gets the ball and passes to Kite, who does a fadeaway, but Hayu lightly taps the ball, which prevents it from going in. Yakuma gets the ball and their team manages to score. Kite gets the ball again and recalls his last encounter with Hayu but passes the ball. They miss the bucket and Yokohama does a bounced alley-oop which Hayu dunks in. Shiraishi also makes a two-pointer in the next play and Kyuzuryu High takes another timeout. Both the team discuss different strategies and the game resumes as Sora passes to Kite, who gets blocked by Hayu. Tetsuo, Sora's opponent, drives in again and again, scoring each time thanks to his short height. Yokoyama makes a three and Yokohama gets free throws, successfully making both. Sora tries to regain the momentum but is easily blocked by Yakuma, who makes a three-pointer in the next play. Kite misses his shot and Hayu makes a fast break, dunking beautifully. Some of the teachers leave seeing how badly their students are losing, and the principal tries to convince them to stay until the end, but they question how far they can actually go. The halftime whistle blows with Yokohama leading by twice as many points as Kyuzuryu. During the halftime, Sakamaki gives some advice to Sora on how to be a better playmaker. None of the players give up and Sora goes to wash his face when he encounters Yazen. Sora asks Yazen if he can eat the ice that he is throwing away, and Yazen cannot say no to a fellow midget. Sora asks him why he is not playing and Yazen replies that the freshmen are chosen to do errands while only Hayu gets to play because he is Sakamaki's treasured player. He recalls how Sakamaki told them not to call him coach until they're the #1 team in Japan. Sora thanks him for the ice and is about to leave when Yazen questions if he was confident about the first three-pointer. Sora says that he is really confident about his three-pointers and only needs 10 to close the gap, which makes Yazen feel like he is talking to a crackhead. They exchange names in the end and Yazen is shocked that Sora's last name is Kurumatani and reveals that the person who taught him basketball was also called Kurumatani. Madoka meets up with Tsukasa who tries to riz her up with cheesy pickup lines. Meanwhile, Sora practices his shots during the halftime and recalls how Yazen revealed that he was taught by Sora's mother and requests Sora to reach the final 8 of the regional preliminaries so they can face off against each other. Sora boldly declares that he aims to be the shortest and greatest player in all of Japan. Big dreams for the small guy. Mikichi meets one of his middle school teammates but doesn't recognize him and Nanao explains their strategy after halftime. Mikichi sits out while Yasuhara replaces him. The game resumes but Hayu shakes off Kite and scores with his tongue out. Mikichi explains that sticking the tongue out allows for more flexibility, which sounds straight out of a fictional movie. Sora gets distracted in his thoughts and almost gets the ball stolen from him but recovers at the last moment before making a three-pointer. Hayu does a crossover and a step back right in front of Kite's face before making a three-pointer. Kite starts getting into his own zone as he recalls Kabachi's word of holding his frustration in. Kite almost scores on Hayu but misses at the end and Shiraishi overturns the point from there. Sora gets the ball and tries the same thing as Shiraishi but gets 2 free throws instead, which he makes both of. Mikichi explains how he can make shots quicker with 2 hands and Kite starts acting crazy. Yasuhara notices how he is useless right now and does a quick switch with Kite. Kite gets the bucket and also gets a free throw while one of the teachers even gets goosebumps after seeing that play. Hayu also gets excited after seeing the play and in the next play, Yokohama gets a bucket again. Kite recalls other talking about the non-existing drug that makes player perform exceptionally well for a period of time, and this phenomenon is called the zone. Kite rushes past Shiraishi and Hayu but gets fouled and thinks about he is fully fatigued and sleep deprived. He misses a free throw and one of the teacher named Osho starts shouting at them to get their head in the game. Sora makes a three-pointer in the next play and Osho says that it's almost impossible for them to make a comeback now. Kyuzuryu takes a timeout and Nanao suggests taking in more 2 seconds as they'll be subbing in Mikichi, but Yasuhara repeatedly requests to stay in the game for longer. The timeout ends and Mikichi explains Yasuhara is motivated by something else other than to win the game and wants to win with his own strength. Mamoru tries to score but gets blocked by Yakuma and the ball goes to Hayu, however Kite slaps it out of his hand too. Kyuzuryu tries to make a fast break and the ball goes to Yasuhara who almost misses, but Mamoru pushes it in at the crucial moment. Yakuma decides to face off against Mamoru and tries to score but misses, so Mamoru gets the rebound. Mikichi's timely session of yapping begins again as he talks about how he has started to see Chiaki in a better light these days after Chiaki kept coming to his house every day. Chiba, who is watching the match, begins to feel a desire to play basketball again and Yakuma scores on Mamoru. Sora passes the ball to Chiaki, who knows exactly how Mamoru will move, so he makes a pass to Sora after making the prediction. Sora lands a three-pointer and lead comes down to 25 as Sora starts getting an enlightenment. He recalls how Nana said that their team's biggest weakness is Sora's height as she points out how many times he gets blocked, so she wants the others to screen while he shoots. Sora silently practices his double hand shots, but Chiaki pops out of nowhere, which scares him. Chiaki says that Sora should be glad that he met him. In the present, Sora makes another three-pointer and Chiaki tells him to make one more shot. However, things don't go their way as Shiraishi also hits them with a 3, but it doesn't demotivate Sora, which makes Chiaki feel better. He passes to Kite in a way that shocks everyone and Kite makes the 3. With 5 seconds left in the quarter, Hayu tries to hit back at them, but Kite steals the ball from him and rushes towards the net. He passes the ball back to Sora, who hits another 3 at the last second. Yazen jumps down from the first floor and goes to Sakamaki before asking him to be put into the game. Sakamaki replies that Yazen pissed him off by interrupting the game despite not even being on the bench, and Yazen reminds him of how he called Yazen a duck. Sakamaki agrees to it, seeing how passionate he is, but says that he isn't even on the roster, so it's impossible for them to do anything. Sora tells them that he wants to face off against Yazen too, but Sakamaki says that it's impossible. However, even the current players agree to let him play. Sakamaki asks Nanao and Satsuki and tells Yazen to get ready after seeing that they're fine with it. The game resumes and Yazen directly passes to Hayu, who puts the ball in smoothly. In the next play, Yazen intercepts a pass and makes a two-handed three-pointer, but Shiraishi asks him what he can bring to the court except threes. Yazen recalls how he first met Yuka and she introduced him to basketball. She taught him how to shoot, and back in the present, Yazen controls the whole flow of the game with his passes. Kite tries to hit back but misses and Yakuma gets the rebound. They make a fast break. Yazen stops for a second while running and passes inside, which leads to a bucket. Sora realizes that Yazen really learned a lot from Yuka while he himself didn't really learn much. Yazen thanks Sora for helping him join the game and he dribbles past Sora after saying that they'll face off in Inter High properly soon. Sora recalls how he used to be stubborn about learning from Yuka and only took little help from her. One day he returned home from practice and his dad hurriedly told him that they're going to the hospital as his mom fell sick. In the present, Yazen scores the bucket even though Chiaki tries to block him. Meanwhile, Madoka continues hanging out with Tsukasa and they discuss how Tsukasa's team also lost in the first round. Madoka thinks about how she was also one of these people running toward their goals, but she has lost her way now. Back at the match, Nabe makes a shoot but it goes over the fence while Sora sits out to recover from the fatigue and he thinks about Yazen's words. Kite asks Chiaki to pass him the ball as much as possible and Chiaki does so. Kite gets the ball and shoots it right in front of Hugh's face. Mikichi asks to be subbed in so they can make more points in the paint and Hayu dribbles past Kite, which makes him accept that Hayu is better than him, but unexpectedly, Hayu gets ruthlessly blocked by Mamoru. Mikichi joins the game and Kite tells him not to drag them down. Yakuma gets a rebound from Mamoru and is about to score, but Mikichi blocks him. Kite gets the ball and thinks about how it's hard without Sora but makes a three-pointer. Yokohama takes a timeout and they put Minta onto the court, who recalls his middle school life. He gets a bucket and Yakuma tells him not to make any more shitty shots. He tries to defend against Mikichi, who gets the ball stolen from him, and Yazen passes to Hayu, who puts it in. Minder recalls how his first love actually liked Mikichi and Mikichi's team beat his team in front of her. Mikichi recalls how he played against Minta and Mikichi does a foul. This counts as Kyuzuri Uhai's 15th foul, and Yazen makes a 3 in the next play. Sakamaki decides that the game is done for now and takes Yazen out. Nanao thinks about how only 3 minutes are left and they can't catch up now, but everyone is still trying their best. Kite faces off against Hayu and runs to his side before passing to Chiaki, which shocks Hayu. Chiaki instantly passes back to Kite, who has already run ahead of Hayu, and Kite makes a three-pointer. Kite tells Sora to get his head back into the game even though he was mercilessly beaten by Yazen. Mamoru blocks a goal, but Yokohama High still ends up scoring, and they get a free throw in which they use to score a two-pointer again. Sora is switched back in and he announces that he still wants to close the gap. Nabe argues with Yasuhara that the team can still win the match despite the 30 points gap, while Nanao tells Satsuki that he can leave since it's his wife's delivery date, but he refuses her. Sora's shot gets blocked, but he keeps trying again despite the 2 minutes remaining, making Mikichi wonder how he gets his drive. Kite dribbles past Hayu and passes the ball to Mikichi, who scores points. Hayu then gets his 4th foul, so he is switched out and Sakamaki tells him that he can't sustain his playing style forever. Shiraishi enters the chat again and he tells Chiaki that he's going to show their team where they belong. He then goes into berserk mode as he steals the ball from Chiaki and scores again. He scores twice again while one of Yokohama High's players thanks Kite for defeating Fua since he can awaken his true potential now. Shiraishi keeps scoring and he manages to score 12 points in 30 seconds, so Chiaki taunts him for going easy on them before and he argues that he was just trying out a playing style before. Madoka gets wet in the rain with her date and starts becoming sentimental for no reason. Meanwhile, Mamoru blocks a goal, but Shiraishi easily manages to score another three-pointer again. With a few seconds left, Sora grabs the ball and makes a run for it. He dribbles past Shiraishi and passes the ball to Nabe, but just when Nabe throws the ball towards the basket, the whistle blows and Kyuzuri High fails to score any points. Yokohama High wins the match and Satsuki thanks Sakamaki for the practice match. He comments that both their teams are in different worlds, but Sakamaki argues that Kyuzuri High has a driving force which can be used properly. The team lay in the club like lifeless fishes while Yokohama's players get ready to go to another practice match. They discuss the future of the basket allowance club while Mamoru goes to the principal's office. The principal tells him that although they lost, some teacher may come around to become their advisor, and just then, the vice principal Tatsuka tells him that she wants to become the team's advisor. She then gives him official approval to form the new basketball team. Back at the maternity center, Satsuki is on the phone with the principal and reveals that his wife went into labor soon after he reached, but he reveals that he has a request. Meanwhile, Madoka and Tsukasa go under a bridge to escape the rain, where Tsukasa finds an umbrella lying around but asks her if she would like to go to a hotel, which shocks her. She gets flustered and tries to avoid it by saying that she doesn't have any money, but he says that she is making him fall for her more. She takes it as a joke, so he says that his feelings for her are real and he loves her. He goes close to her and kisses her while Mamoru watches the rain, unable to feel happy. He recalls how he was mean to Madoka and realizes that he needs to apologize to her. He goes and tells everyone that they were approved, but they're not happy about getting pitied on, but Sora says that he doesn't mind as he wants to play again. Chiaki makes an emotional speech again and they all get fired up again, while Nanao, who is standing outside, wishes that she was also a boy. Sakamaki comes to her and tells her about each player on their team and how they can improve a lot. He assures her that the team can reach very high if someone with sharp eyes like hers can guide them. Both the teams say their farewells and Takahashi tries to convince Chiba to play basketball again. The boys clean up the place after the event and Sora says that he is glad that they can play basketball again. Sometime later, they all go to the beach and Madoka sits next to Sora, which flusters him. Satsuki tells his wife that he asked the principal to let him be the basketball team's advisor again because he wants to guide them properly as an adult should. His wife accepts his decision and says that she won't feel alone at home now thanks to the baby anyways. Three guys try to riz up Madoka and her friend, but Mamoru arrives. He tries to brush off the guys while controlling his temper, but the guys start acting tough. Kite also arrives and the guys get scared of his braids and tattoos, so they leave. Mamoru and Madoka get some alone time, so he apologizes to her for being mean, but she tells him that it's alright and thinks about how everything is back to place except one thing. Chiba decides to get back into basketball while Yazen realizes that he is still far from being a starter, so he needs to try harder. Satsuki tells everyone that he will be their advisor again, but Mamoru reveals he doesn't feel right about it because they never gave him anything in return. He tells them that it's alright and reminds him about his own words about how he likes the team. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.